what should be done first, what should be done after, and making sure that you finish on time to please the boss.
Okay, so the second part was probably just interacting and meeting other professionals. It has truly opened our eyes to see different career pathways, and also it has also inspired us to soar higher in our education.
And then the final part was kind of stepping outside of our comfort zone, because you kind of don't know what to expect every day when you walk in, but it's usually pretty interesting and it's rewarding to just kind of go with the flow.
Did the board, did you want to ask them anything, or what? No, you don't have to. I just,
What departments did you guys work in?
We all worked for the superintendent's office.
I'm sorry?
We all worked for the superintendent's office.
Oh.
Yeah.
He got his own people to come.
So he's the boss.
Oh. So you didn't have to work in the trailer over here then?
Well,
all
actually,
right.
No.
We call that a portable classroom.
Portable. Okay. So I just want to ask you, did you find any value in being part of this program?
All right, well, there's definitely a huge value being part of it. Not only are we getting rewarded monetarily, I think the skills are the biggest part, because the skills we learn in the program are skills that you could put to any workforce. So it doesn't matter if you're going to work right after high school or if you're going to college and then you plan on joining the workforce. It doesn't matter, because you're learning the valuable skills that you need to succeed later on in life.
don't be shy. Y'all can add something to it.
Yeah, I agree with everything Serene said. And also you earn high school credit too. So you're kind of furthering your education and outside of the classroom. So it's a good thing to put on your resume. It's a great experience. You get to make some money. You get to stay busy. So it's there's no real downside to it.
I have a question. What did you think of Dr. Kenziora's sense of humor?
I honestly think he's truly he's the person that will brighten your day. I think to us, when we come in the morning, we're always happy to see him because he will always make us laugh or anything. Even if we're just stressed or anything, he'll always brighten our days no matter what he does.
And Sam's always the one laughing. We all laugh, but Sam's just laughing at everything. Every word that comes out, Sam is dying.
Of course.
The question I have is, coming from school and you have a lot of students around you, you guys be talking and stuff. But then if you said you were working for the superintendent, you were around a lot of adults. Was the transition easy or was it difficult?
I don't know. I think we're kind of we all sought out this position basically, so we were prepared to work in a professional setting. So it's kind of what we wanted to do. So I think we were all prepared to work in that setting.
Okay. So I have a little scenario here, and this is just an assumption, okay? Let's say that the board is considering to end in this program. So tell me, what would you tell the board to continue the program, and what would you tell students out in the audience to get on the program?
Okay, well, first of all, I'd be stop right there. Because this program is truly, it's one of the best programs I've heard of. Not only, instead of students working minimum wage jobs, they could come here, they learn valuable skills, because we also go to workshops, if you guys didn't know. So it's Monday through Thursday we work, and then we're required to go to a 2-hour workshop every week where we learn different things. So the first week we created our resume. Second week we filled out job application, and basically we have a little packet of things that we would need when we're going to apply for a job right after the program. And so it really gears students up towards being able to work and be a valuable a valuable member in society. And I think it's really useful because when they go around and out into the real world, it's yeah, I came from MVUSD. And I think that's a really valuable thing, because not only do we get thanked. Like, not only do you guys get like thanked for it, and like our district kind of shines bright among the others, because I've never heard of a district do anything like this, and it's pretty cool that like we're the first, you know, we're revolutionary. So yeah.
I think it's a really important program because I'm sure you guys know that youth unemployment is a massive problem. Like, every year, less and less young people are getting summer jobs. And summer jobs basically are going to set us apart when we go and apply to be lawyers and doctors and like all of these other jobs. It shows that we've had the experience it takes to enter the workforce and be productive members of society.
Okay, so like, I don't know. You guys all said good things.
Say ditto.
No,
I'm like thinking so.
you don't have to say what they did. You can just say what you feel.
I think that was it. 'Cause
Are you enjoying working with the program?
Yes, of course.
Do you guys come to work on time? Do you have to punch a clock or anything like that?
We have a
Well,
time.
we have time
Oh, you
cards.
have a time card? Okay.
Yeah.
So you come early to make sure. Okay.
I think we should give them a hand.
Yeah, because I think they just got done. Thank
Thank you.
you. As proud as you guys ought to
We'll
be
let you
working
off the
here,
hook
we
now.
just as proud to have you working with us. Thank you guys very much.
All right, I had one question, but it's more for Dr. Kadziora, and that is, so we have some students in the program that have already graduated from high school and some that are juniors continuing on next year. So what's the ratio there?
Well, most of the students are seniors, like what Serene and Samantha represent. Ian was a junior and is going to be a senior next year.
Right.
So most of the students are seniors, and then a few are juniors that are going to be seniors. And then there are a few students who've graduated who come back to, and we ask them to reapply again, and they have to apply for the job, and they are selected among the students who apply. And one student that works with them, Viti, from Valley View High School, she's in her first year of Cal State San Marcos, and I was at Target, and I saw her, and she was buying some cupcakes. And I was by her in line, and she said, Dr. Kinzer, I really need a job. And so I, paid for the cupcakes for her. And I said, she said, well, you don't have to do that. And I said, well, you said you need a job. And I said, we want you to come back. We want students to be, and I think the part about this that's so good is the connection with our community. It's a very positive connection. I get letters from students. I'm going to share one with y'all in the Friday memo of a student who wrote a letter at Valley View High School about her experience and how she's changed, it's transformed her life. She didn't, know what was possible until she started seeing all these things happen. So it's very exciting what happens in this program, but what happens with them, but what happens to us. Sometimes I don't know who's getting more out of it, us or them, because I really look forward to seeing them every day. They're always smiling. They always want to help, and they always want to participate. And the people that work here aren't always like that every day. But because when you have a job, you forget sometimes. But but the people who that you inspire other people around here, and you don't even know that. So thank you. So. Esperanza Arce, who's the Director of Secondary Education, last night she called me and she was really excited, and I'm proud to share this with you, but this was a conference by AXA, the Association of School Counselors, for American School Counselors. Is it a national conference, Esperanza? Yeah. So at a national conference, everyone, who are they talking about there? Who do you think they're talking about? Moreno Valley Unified School District. Now, this is data that's really important. And Esperanza said, Dr. Kidzer, you should be so proud. Oh, I am. And but when you look at that up there, it's hard for you to see. But I want you to know that this is the percent of students enrolled in college the fall immediately after high school. Now, all institutions, it's around 51%. In Moreno Valley Unified School District, it's 60%. That's extremely high. So then the second slide is the percent of students enrolled in college the fall immediately after high school by institutional level, and all institutions, four-year institutions and two-year institutions. Now the average is 41%, but the in Moreno Valley, is there a problem? Okay, because if I'm doing something wrong, y'all can tell me, because I got judges over here looking at this. But I've went over this with you, Esperanza, today, so I want to make sure we're talking right. But I want you to know 55% is Moreno Valley, and then 33% in four-year institutions, and 22% in that's four-year institutions, 22, and two-year was 33%. But the bottom line is, we're higher than all the institutions. And that's what... Now, I see Karen Johnson out there. She's a principal of a high school. And I see Stacy Katzenstein, who's a physics teacher, AP physics teacher at Valley View High School. And John Black is a principal at Mountain View Middle School. And Mr. Quintero was an assistant principal at Moreno Valley High School. But this further demonstrates the district's strategic plan about how we are preparing students to be college and career ready. You saw an example of careers right there. Well, this is college, and they're going. And the percent that's enrolled is higher than all other institutions. Is that right, Esperanza?
Yes, and we have the highest gain, too, for Riverside County.
The highest gain for Riverside County. So there are 18 school districts that report this information, because all of them are not high school districts. But Moreno Valley, just like our graduation rate, has had the highest gain in college-going rate. And I want to thank the high schools, the counselors, the parents, the community, the board, because they have an emphasis for this, and it's part of our strategic plan. But isn't that exciting? Mm-hmm. So some strategies that were presented there, and these are things that we all do, and I'm not going to do every one, but the race to submit FAFSA, that's part of something Ms. Johnson is very competitive. Was yours the highest last year of any high school? And you know that, right? Okay, you're not just saying that because you're sitting there. Okay. And then we do the School Counselor College and Career Professional Development, the Race to Rigor, the Race to Ready partnership with local higher education institutions. So there's a real emphasis on this. And our students are, like this year, $73 million in scholarships, an increase last year from $65 million. So it's a real emphasis in the district, and we're very proud of that. And thank you, Esperanza, for bringing this to our attention and for being so excited last night at about 11 p.m. at night. She was texting me about this, and I thought, well, I got to tell everybody about it today. Thank you. So on this Thursday, you're going to see our summer school commencement, and this is the total number of seniors graduating, and there's, it says the different schools, and so the total number of students is 128 that are graduating and from each of our different high schools. It's a common graduation at Moreno Valley High School where everyone comes together. But that's one of the pieces that has improved our graduation rate, is having a summer graduation. There's some districts that don't do that, and we're very proud of Moreno Valley for having that and the board for encouraging that. So thank you and congratulations to all those students. Tonight we are recognizing these students, Mr. Johnson and Mr. Holguin and myself and Mrs. Johnson, the principal of Valley View High School. Karen Johnson. Now there's a Deidre Johnson, a Karen Johnson, a CJ Johnson, and no, they're not related.
Watch that email.
But we're very proud, and those students are here, and you're going to be recognized tonight. But I was so proud when I was there watching you at this event, at the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. Here we have a team of students. There were 22 teams from across the nation, and this team with Stacy Katzenstein, this phenomenal teacher at Valley View High School, and they were putting their experiment into space. And we were up at National Smithsonian Science Museum and present in front. It's a research competition, and amazing what they did. Amazing. They were there. Now he's as cool as he can be right now, and he was just like that there. But
Yep.
but one of the things I was so proud of when you looked at our team was the diversity of it. There was an African American young man, there was a Hispanic, you were the Hispanic, a white, and a Caucasian, and an Asian. Now, I don't know how they became a team, but there's strength in that, and I saw that. But we were the only team that had that of all those teams.
Yep.
So we're very proud of that. One of the things that we're very proud of is a partnership we have with the Pacific Crest Drum and Bugle Corps. I don't know if all of you know about this, but they practice in our district. They're in our 4th of July parade. But Greg Solomon was fortunate to bring there were 150 students that participated with 1,400 youth from 13 drum and bugle corps on June 30th. Now, these students would have never had this experience at the Rose Bowl if they had not been part of this Pacific Crest Drum and Bugle Corps. And that's a partnership that we're very proud of in the district. So thank you for that. Esperanza Arce, I'm so glad you're here. She's a secondary director. She's only been here 3 months. She came from another district, and her kids go to school here, so I'm glad she came over here. She just completed a grant, and this is important for the board and the community to know, in a partnership with Moreno Valley Unified School District and Moreno Valley College. This has the potential to have $7.5 million for the Moreno Valley Unified School District. It has a 6-year matching grant targeting 7th grade students in a cohort and emphasizes STEAM essentials through 21st century learning. And this was submitted on July 12, 2018. And Esperanza, when are we going to hear about this? Do you know? And I want you to know, she was on vacation. Maribel and I sent her to a meeting at Moreno Valley College, and then we told her she had to do something. But it was amazing. She met with me on this grant, and I want you to know she did an amazing job. Thank you for what you did. We're very proud at Steve Quintero's new school, March Mountain. Already they're in action, getting resources, and they have a $20,000 grant. This is the highest you can get for the Institute for Teaching, and this is through their action program called Rally Around Fitness, and that'll be happening this year at their school. And Mr. Quintero, congratulations, and to your staff there for getting that grant already. Thank you. And then this summer, a lot of our people go to Avid Institutes, and we have a lot of people that are in those. Mrs. Arcee's daughter, I'm not going to say her name right. Is it Jelsie? Jellica, look at me, Jelsie. She's a 12th grader at Canyon Springs High School, and she sang at the National Avid Institute. And so, Mrs. Hargay, are you going back to that, or did you get nervous, or is he doing it? Okay. Oh, I thought you were doing it. Okay. So are you going to, yeah, there's a video there. Would you please play the video? Can they hear me? Okay. Is somebody new back there? Oh, okay.
Helica, who's about to be a senior in high school, to come and sing this with me.
That's Esperanza's husband. He used to work here at Valley View.
It's the way we make a difference today for a better tomorrow for them. Avid's the way we can teach them to say that in college their future begins.
Across different nations, what a great sensation. Teaching individual determination, hope is what we grow in Avid.
That was one of our students with one of our employees, our director's husband, singing at a national conference, and they're going to make a record, and you're going to buy it someday.
Power to believe in you, you got to have it like fire. Burning in desire, a restless calling that cannot get tired. It helps you build a stronger foundation. That's your individual determination.
Avid's the way we make a difference today for a better tomorrow for them. Habits the way we can teach them to say that in college their future begins.
If you're a teacher or a coach and you believe in this approach, you dedicate your life without reproach. You're connecting to their core and their heart, a belief that you've had from the very first start. The first time that you made that difference and you sparked their mind because you piqued their interest. You taught them how to set a destination. That's their individual determination.
Habits the way we make a difference today for a better tomorrow for them. Habits the way we can teach them to say that in college their future begins.
Everyone sing it with us.
Habits the way we make a difference today for a better tomorrow.
Y'all can sing with it if you want to.
Habits the way we can teach them to say that in college your future begins.
Through habit.
Thank you, Miss Arcee, for sending that to us, and I had no idea they were there doing that, so we're very proud of them. This summer, a lot of our teachers participated in professional development, and one of them that they participated in was a national conference, was the 2018 International Society for Technology and Education called ISTE. And this was on June 24th through June 27th in Chicago, Illinois. And we're very proud that Dr. Buster, Patricia Gomez, Mary Stafford, Dr. Amna Ahmad, and Rebecca Buckoff participated but also presented at this conference. And that's some of the talent and the ability that we have in our district, and we're just very proud of them for being there. The district was very involved in the July 4th of a parade for the city, and we're very proud of the students, and they're here tonight. We're going to recognize them for their essays that they wrote, but Mrs. Smith was just one of the grandest people as the president, and I drove her around. And you can go to the next slide, and you can see that Mr. Johnson was in one car, Miss Smith, look at them waving, and Mr. Holguin. And so we were very represented and very proud to be part of the community on that very special day. And then...
Can I say something?
Yeah, you can.
We also had the all high school honor band in the choir, and I thought that was just great.
We did. We had the all high school marching band that marched with Pacific Crest in the parade. And it was Mr. Holguin. Did you want to add anything to that?
Well, besides the all district marching band, you mentioned earlier Pacific Crest, and I just want to note that in Pacific Crest there are 3 students, or actually 2 current students from Valley View High School that are part of this band, and a former student from Canyon Spring who's the drum major, the highest position in the band, and so they are representing this district. And this Pacific Crest organization, they're today in a national tour that lasts about 6 weeks. So today they're on their way to Texas, and they are competing against many other organizations nationwide. So they're continuing the tour until I believe about 2-3 more weeks from now, and they end up in Indianapolis. So it's a huge organization, and we have 3 of our representatives there.
Thank you. And then on this,
Dr. Katsura, one last thing I want to mention too about them. I don't know if any of you in the audience happen to hear them at the Vista del Lago Stadium. And I'm not embarrassed to say this, but when I was called out to say a few words, I looked at the stadium, and there was standing room only, and I said, "Gee, so during our football season, this is what we're going to see." And after I got done speaking, they told me those people were following the band. They were not Moreno Valley. But the reason I'm mentioning that just to let you know how great that band is. And it's a great football field, too, so this September, come on out.
I think one of the most important things that we want you to know is that in the summer, Moreno Valley Unified doesn't shut down. There's more happening here than may happen during the school year, and sometimes we're not aware of all these activities. This next one happened at the Moreno Valley Conference Center, and we were very proud to have representation. There was an open house for the community, and the district had a table there. Maribel Maddox attended, Mrs. Smith was there, Mr. Johnson was there, and we had a lot of district representation, and we're just very proud of what we were able to provide at that program. And then the next slide is, this was a conference on the Summer Institute for Educational Justice for educators addressing educational equity. And I was one of 6 superintendents that were invited to speak about what we're doing in equity in our district. And we're very proud to be part of that and part of that conference. I wanted you to know that all 6 of our middle schools participated in a national grant called the National Forum to Accelerate Middle Grades Reform, a seed grant supporting effective educator development. And all 6 middle schools, it was 2 teachers that are paired at each school, but they saw improvement in their students and the progress they made. John Black is a principal of a middle school there and just recently named a national school to watch, the National Forum, and his school participates in that. And Greg Morton is there by him. Thank you, Greg, for being here and supporting that in your schools. This next week in Mickey Clowney, who has the University of California Riverside Upward Bound Annual Summer Symposium, and those are our students. There will be a recognition at Moreno Valley College on July 26th at the Moreno Valley Conference Center from 6 to 9 p.m. And this is a STEAM program that's through Upward Bound and is really an amazing program that students participate in the summer and during the school year. So I hope you'll go there and support them. Dr. Sheffield, I'm glad you're here tonight. Part of student services, we want all these kids to get registered, Dr. Sheffield. So I want you to walk around with registration signs and, school starts August 15th, put that in everybody's hand. And we call it the Welcome and Registration Center, the name change, because we want you to be welcomed when you come there. And the hours are from 8 to 4, but they'll be changing July 30th through August 17th, and it'll be 8 to 6 p.m. And I'm telling the public this because we want you to avoid the long lines and anybody that you know. Start registering now because there's time and opportunity there. So we're very proud that you're part of that and you're going to be overseeing that and championing that and welcoming people to our district. Sometimes people say, I've heard like Northridge Elementary School, they say to me, they used to be such a great school. Well, it still is a great school. It's one of the best. You teach there, Ms. Quintero. You're a kindergarten teacher. And I want you to know it's now got a program called Code to the Future. It's one of the only schools in Riverside County that has this program. This program is throughout California. And it's a STEAM program with coding as an emphasis, but the kids there do amazing things on their Chromebooks. But I just want you to know there's 28 student transfer requests right now, 45 late student transfer requests, and a total of 73 students on a wait list to get in there. So it's a popular program, and there's a lottery that we do to help to choose students to go there. And we're very proud of that. So I want the public to know that that's still a wonderful program there. Now, this person doesn't know I'm going to do this, but Mr. Burleson, I'm glad you're here this evening. One of the things that I get sometimes is copied on emails because people are telling me about a problem and what's happening with a parent. I want you to know what an amazing transportation department we have. And he's a new director here. His name's Jim Burleson. Am I saying it right? Burleson. And so one of the things that I saw in this email exchange, but I talked to this parent because she's been here through other people. And she said to me, Dr. Kedziora, one of the things that I loved was the customer service that I experienced, but how he really listened and cared about my child, maintaining good communication between parents, taking into account the needs of students. This was a special needs student, and properly accommodated the student's needs and his follow-up and his follow-through with commitments made. And so I want to thank you. Deidre Johnson, you're going to want to get to know him as a new principal because what you did for that parent, and you don't even know this, could have been different, and it wasn't because of you, so thank you. At Towngate Elementary School this year, there's 11 elementary schools that had superintendent summer learning academies, and I want you to know they were full. And the other day we were there, Mrs. Smith, Mr. Holguin, and I, at Towngate. But one of the things that's special about their summer learning program, the superintendent summer learning program, is their librarian has the library open during the summer for the students. Now, they do that through their site LCAP funds, and they pay for that through their site LCAP. But we saw evidence where students' reading levels, because they use accelerated reader, had increased at high levels. And students who came in reading at below grade level are now reading above grade level. And I want you to know when the test scores come out in the fall, you're going to see Towngate is really rivaling Northridge, Ms. Quintero, and what's happening. So you're going to want to take that back and look at that. But I'm very proud that 1,200 students participated in that Superintendent Summer Learning Academy at the elementary level, and 1,800 students participated in 6 middle school Superintendent Summer Learning Academies. So we're very proud of what happened this summer, and that will end this weekend. Dr. Verdi is next to me, and we need teachers, everyone. There are 30 vacancies approximately. This may have changed today. They keep interviewing people. But I want you to put the word out there, and I want these vacancies filled by the first day of school. There's nothing worse than not having all these vacancies filled. Now, we're better than we were in the past, and I want to thank Dr. Verdi because he and Jason Barney, I think Jason's out there, isn't he? And Jason should be passing out cards, and if you know someone that wants to be a teacher, they should be... I'm proud of you, Miss Smith. I'm getting there. So we need elementary teachers. We need teachers that are work in moderate, severe programs, teachers that work in mild to moderate, English, math, science. There's 5 vacancies in science. So if you know someone that can be intern credentialed, we'd love to talk to them. And we have an art vacancy, social science, physical education. One of them is a dance class. And then world language, we have 1 vacancy. So, Mr. Verdi, Dr. Verdi, did you get any hires today? Did that list go down?
It did. We actually hired 3 science teachers today.
Okay. So now we only need 2 science teachers, right? Well, I'm proud of y'all. That's progress.
At one point, though, you told us that we had no vacancies. Everything was filled.
He said
about
that?
a month ago.
He said that?
For elementary.
For elementary.
For elementary.
Okay.
Yeah, well, we're always looking for math, science, and special ed. And then this month, we usually see some folks submitting some resignations for different reasons. So we do have some vacancies. As we hire some folks on, we may get a resignation or 2. So, but this number has been higher this time of year the past couple of years. So we're in a good position to hopefully try and meet Dr. Kedziora's goal of being fully staffed.
Good job.
Mm-hmm. And y'all's goal, too, not mine. So I want you to know, very proud of the people who work here, and it's hard for me to talk about this, but I got a national award in Washington, D.C. for leadership, and I'm very proud of that, and Mr. Holguin and Mr. Johnson were there with me. But Mrs. Dagnall, thank you, Ms. Johnson. Ms. Dagnall, this whole year she's been participating in Leadership Moreno Valley every Thursday, 1 Thursday a month. And now she's Moreno Valley Leader Certified. And isn't that something? Congratulations, Ms. Dagnall. So I want you to put this on your calendar. This is the 3rd annual Health and Resource Fair from 9:30 to 4. This is a huge event. We give away backpacks to every student that comes. Your office actually does this, Lynn Sheffield, so you're going to be like really busy that day. You may not know that yet. But Patty Rucker coordinates this, and it's a one-stop shop for referral services, medical, vision, and dental services. They have doctors and dentists there. You can get a haircut while you're there, Medi-Cal and CalFresh enrollment and raffles. There's things you can win. And I want you to know today I won something. I put my card in Panda Express and I got lunch for 2. So I want you to know you can win stuff if you go to these things, and it happens. So, and you can get shoes there too. We're going to have over 500 pairs of shoes to give away. Well, I want to, everything's not public yet, but thank you. I mean, yeah. I mean, there might be more shoes, yeah. Miss Smith, you should be so proud of this because Miss Smith went to Vista Del Lago.
I am proud of everything that happens in Moreno Valley Unified School District.
And she sat in a broken chair, and she said to me, Dr. Kedziora, we need to have those chairs fixed. Well, I want you to know, I went to Tina Dagnall. This is how this stuff works here. Now, look at that theater. There isn't a chair in there anymore because she ordered all new chairs. And it's going to be.
You could have just fixed the 5 that were broken.
Well, but I like this plan because the seats have been removed, the installation of color-changing theatrical lights with the DMX control, and the new seats are scheduled for delivery soon. It's going to be a whole new theater. Thank you, Tina Dagnall. I'm proud of y'all. And if you've driven by Valley View High School, I know you've seen the high school track and field replacement, and that's supposed to be in time for the first game in September or August. And Esperanza, you're getting us that schedule because the board wants to know when the first games are, and you're working on that, right? All right, thank you. And then at Valley View High School in bond funding, if you look at those softball fields, I mean, it's amazing what's transforming these schools. And Ms. Johnson, I know you're proud back there. And then Armada Elementary School is getting a new Head Start office. And is Carol Boyne held here? Head Start office and classroom. And we need more rooms because more students want to enroll in that. And at Vista Heights Middle School, they're getting new portables. And the reason they're getting them is because they have a visual and performing arts program that needs a dance room and a place to practice and do plays and musicals. So their visual and performing arts has outgrown their facilities there. And then I want to thank all of you for being here tonight. And I want you to look at this sun that was sent to me. And this was sent to me by Diane Helderstedt, who retired. And it's in, where was it? Monument? Do you remember? Wyoming, yeah. And look at that. Now, that's Moreno Valley, what's like here. And if you don't have one of these, ask for one. Because excellence on purpose is always shining brighter, but it happens because of everyone working together. Thank you, board and cabinet and our community, for what you do to make our district the very best. We're very proud.
Thank you. I always look forward to your comments. You have so many positive things to say and things that I didn't even know were happening, so thank you. Now we're going to move to recognition. Yes.
I had a question about the transportation that you talked about. I saw today 3 buses around. Do we have buses going on in the summer?
Yeah, because we have, until Thursday, we have extended school year programs for special education, and so yes, we do.
Okay, thank you. That explains it.
I was also glad to hear that communication with parents is improving. My oldest granddaughter is handicapped and was a special ed student in Moreno Valley for many years. And my daughter, who also works for Moreno Valley, didn't have any pull because of that. She would say, I can't get those people at transportation, just drive me crazy every year getting this set up. So I'm glad it's working better. Thank you. Now we'll do recognitions with Mrs. Maddox. Thank you.
Good evening. It is my honor to recognize our staff and our students for tonight for their accomplishments. We'd like to start with Valley View and the students that participated in the spaceflight experiment. So I'm going to acknowledge the students because of all the work, and this is the first time our district has done this, and it's amazing. So I like to call up Titan Lamb, even though if he's not here, I want to acknowledge him. Samaj Martinez and Douglas McCormick and Roman Lara. They traveled to Washington, D.C. So at this time also, Mrs. Johnson, if you would come up, and also the teacher. We cannot do this without the teachers and their work and their dedication to make sure that our students have these very, very special opportunities. So thank you so much for our teacher also that traveled. So what they did is they went to Washington, D.C., and they had a project called The Effect of Microgravity on Soybean Germination. And it was developed by these 2018 graduates. So they traveled and they got it to go in a rocket in space. It's amazing what they did. And it's important that we acknowledge what our students do. This is, to me, the ultimate opportunity. Also, we always talk about STEAM, and here we have a group of students that are showing the nation what can be done here in Moreno Valley Unified School District. So I want to congratulate the students and the school and also our teacher for doing this. So congratulations to you, to all of you.
Okay, so well, see, at first arriving, let me start from the classroom experience. At first, this was more of an introduction to like, oh, it's just another, high school project. I'm just gonna get it done, get the grade, and get out of here. But no, see, it was kind of a process of pick your team, and you don't really take it that seriously because it's high school and it's a project. But then once you heard, hey, science, NASA, you start to get more involved. And once you actually had that experience, you're like, okay, this is more than just a high school experiment, and that's when, the actual, inspiration to do more than just, get the grade, but to get the experience of actually doing something on this high of a level. Once we were chosen and actually given the news that we were going to be participating in the program to the higher level and even possibly the national level, that's when we got really excited because we heard news of a possible trip to Washington, D.C. as we made a couple weeks before. And this was an experience like none other. It was just, it's not something you can necessarily say you do every day. It's one of these things where if you don't take advantage of these things now, it's never going to come up again in life. And I'm really glad I got to have this experience. And I just want to thank all the board members and teachers that made this possible, and especially to my physics teacher, Ms. Katzenstein. She would always push for us to do better and would always make us, thrive and, persevere in anything that we did. And if we did it, we were going to persevere with excellence. So thank you.
A few words to add to that, and persevere is a great word. That's perfect because you may not understand, our experiment is ongoing. It's up on the International Space Station right now, and we are waiting to hear eagerly sometime this week the second interaction where the astronauts will deactivate our experiment. It's scheduled to come back down, splash down in the Pacific Ocean early August, and then I've got to call all the boys in, even the 2 graduated ones, and they've got to analyze the results and report out their findings. So we're ongoing with this actually currently. So he is persevering all summer long. They have not had the summer off. They've had to work through it all summer. And they're doing real work. This is not mimicking science. This is real science. Everything is real. They are in the space program. All 133 of my students wrote proposals for experiments to be done on the space station. That is real. That's real world skills that they have. They can now say they wrote a 7-section science proposal to use an international laboratory. And it's very professional. Yeah, they make mistakes. It's the first time they've done it. Not everyone gets to say they've done it. So, but walking away from high school with that experience is mind-blowing for me. All of my students. The team of 4 that finally got selected has followed through magnificently, very professionally. Words cannot describe how professional they have been. You can't just send anything to space. NanoRacks, the people that help us package and get things up into the International Space Station, watch them carefully through a teleconference as they loaded their actual experiment up. I mean, detail by detail. And these kids did it all by themselves. I stood back and just watched them, and they communicated with her via teleconference, and she watched every detail, asked them questions the whole step of the way. So they are going through something really spectacular, and I could not be more proud and just mind blown myself at how much all these students are walking away with. So thank you. Thank you, board, for supporting this. Thank you, Ms. Johnson. I never got a no. I said, can we do this? Can we do this? Can we do this? And he kept saying, sure, sure, sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Katzenstein, and I want to thank those students who persevered, was a really good word, through this experiment. One of the things when we were in Washington, D.C., that we said to the young men who were a part of this experiment was that it was a historical happening for them, a once-in-a-lifetime thing, and that their findings, their experiment, would be recorded in history books. So I think as a community, we should be really proud of them. We should be continually supporting them. We are one of the STEAM high schools in in Moreno Valley Unified School District. We have this program, and we have wonderful teachers in this program that push and motivate and engage our students in activities like this. So I want to thank Dr. Kitsiora for the support to get the students to Washington, D.C., and the board, who came out at 5 o'clock in the morning to view the launching of their experiment. So, yeah, Eastern time, yes. And so thank you. Well, it was, 2 o'clock probably here. But thank you so much for your continued support of this program, this wonderful, amazing teacher and these students.
Let me continue by now recognizing Mountain View Middle School. They also were in Washington, D.C. to be recognized as a school to watch. So at this time, I'd like to invite the principal, Mr. John Black, and his staff. I see Mr. Morton. Thank you for being here. This designation recognizes high-performing middle schools for their academic excellence, social equity, and responsiveness to their students. As a responsibility now being selected, the schools are expected to guide and mentor staff at other middle schools and present professional development on their programs at state and national conferences and provide yearly updates on their academic performance and improvement. This is out of 6 middle schools. We have 4 of our schools designated as schools to watch. Congratulations, Mr. Black. Congratulations to your staff. That was a lot of work that's been recognized at the state and national level. Congratulations.
So we were in Washington, D.C. about 3 weeks ago to receive the national recognition. I took a team of 10 people, and one of the parts of the visit was to meet with our representative. So we got to meet with Mark Takano and to talk about education, particularly middle grades education, and what some of the needs are and some of the things we'd like to see get funded and some of the policies we'd like to see put in place. Then we had the opportunity to present and talk about all the great things that are happening at Mountain View. And then we also got to see the presentations from other schools across the country who got the same recognition and see some of the programs that they have in place. So it was a fantastic opportunity. And I just want to thank the staff, the teachers, the classified, the parents, and the students at Mountain View, because it really is a community recognition. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I appreciate you saying that.
Thank you.
Ms. Smith. Thank you, Dr. Kenziora. Thank you, Dr. Bird. Thank you, Mrs. Dagnall.
I would now like to acknowledge the 4th of July essay contest winners. We partner with our city, Moreno Valley City, in this contest where students from grades 2 to 12 were invited to write an essay on the specific topic, the history of Independence Day. We're very proud that we had 4 winners, our 4 district winners, 2 from elementary, 1 from middle, and 1 from high school. So they got some special prizes, and they got to be in the parade, which I think it's really neat to be in any parade. I know I haven't been in one, so this is great. So for our students, and to congratulate them, we have for 2nd grade, Sydney Padios from Bear Valley. We have 4th grade, Bruno Negrete from La Jolla. 7th grade, Janet Gwynn from Sunnymead Middle School, and 10th grade, Alejandra Cardona from Canyon Springs. So if the students are here, any staff from those sites, if you could come up and be acknowledged, thank you. Well, and I'm going to call Ashley Olguin, who helped coordinate this, and she is a counselor at Northridge Elementary. Ashley, thank you for your work on getting this done. Okay, I might have, and Carol Boynhell, who rode the bus with the students. Thank you, Carol, for supporting our students. Thank you.
So none of the students are here?
I just learned that the students are also going to be recognized at the August city meeting, so we'll recognize them, make sure we go to support them. And we're going to have them come back when school starts. Definitely, we'll invite them back. Thank you again for recognizing our students and staff for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations to everyone who was recognized. We're moving to E5. Do we have any staff responses to public comments made at previous meetings?
No, Mrs. Smith, thank you.
All right, so now we're going to move on to public comments on agenda items. Any person requesting to speak to any item on the agenda may do so at this time or when the item is addressed. Let me see. Open. Okay, they're all non-agenda items, so fine. We are on E7, non-agenda items. We encourage public comments. During this section, the staff may briefly respond to statements or questions, or may ask questions for clarification. The board may refer to staff or other resources for factual information. If someone wants to lodge a complaint against an employee, the appropriate form may be obtained at any school or the community education center. Individual speakers shall be allowed to speak for a total of 3 minutes on non-agenda items. Per board bylaw 9323, twice the allotted time will be provided to a member of the public utilizing a translator. I don't think we'll have any need to decrease the time. We only have 3 speakers. So the first is Jorge Quintero. And do you want a translator? Yes? Okay, so could we have a translator also come up? And you will have 6 minutes then. Yes, we also would like to encourage, Mr. Quintero, you will speak then the translator will speak. Then you will speak, then the translator will speak. When we have two people at the same time, it makes it hard for us to understand.
Yes, thank you. Buenas noches, mi nombre es Jorge Quintero.
Good night, my name is Jorge Quintero.
Padre de estudiantes en este distrito.
¿Cómo dijo?
Padre de estudiantes en este distrito.
Parent of students in the district.
Buenas noches, miembros del board, maestros.
Good night to you, board.
Padres y estudiantes.
Teachers and parents.
Para felicitar a la señora Arce por su talentosa familia que tiene.
I wanted to congratulate Mrs. Arce for the talented family that she has.
Y otro asunto que tengo pendiente es el señor José Chávez habló de una iglesia que ustedes están prestando o rentando en la Elementary Town Gate.
I want to talk about an issue regarding a church, regarding Jose Chavez, a church that is being lent or used.
El distrito escolar o cualquier escuela no debe ser, una cuestión pública no debe estar la religión mezclada, como es en la escuela Town Gate.
Regarding matters of school, I don't think they should be involving religious issues like in Town Gate.
La religión se llama Fuel and Flame Church.
The name of the church is Fuel and Flame Church.
No deben de ser usadas las instituciones públicas ni para cuestiones religiosas ni para cuestiones públicas.
Public spaces should not be used for religious purposes.
No es adecuado para esto.
Is not adequate for this.
Sí, se debe de estudiar las religiones y que sea como algo histórico, pero no se debe practicar la religión dentro de las escuelas públicas.
Religion can be studied as a religious religious purpose, but not at the school.
Ni cuestiones políticas tampoco.
And also political issues should not be discussed.
Se debe de estudiar, como digo, también la política porque es parte de la educación. Estudiar diferentes políticas, diferentes religiones, pero no practicarlas dentro.
Political issues can be studied, but not practiced as well as religion.
Yo sé como había una non-profit de una señora, se llama Tawny Sound, y ustedes no quisieron prestarle una escuela para que ella pudiera dar gratuitamente clases de música.
La señora, ¿cómo se llama?
Elsa Reyes.
Oh, I know of an instance where Elsa Reyes wanted to use one of the facilities to teach music, and you guys did not allow her to use the facilities.
También cuando había otra non-profit, ICUC.
Another example is when there was ICUC, they were a non-profit.
Que ellos ayudan a la comunidad, dando pláticas, talleres.
They help the community and they give out workshops.
Y sobre todo para niños de educación especial.
Especially regarding special education kids.
Y también no querían ayudarla.
And you guys didn't want to help.
Yo no sé si hay un alto funcionario o una gente tan importante que ustedes le estén rentando, prestando la escuela Elementary Town Gate para hacer práctica religiosa todos los domingos en las mañanas.
I don't know who is a high-ranking employee that it's lending this school for use every Sunday.
Sí, porque entonces ya muchas religiones se van a decir, bueno, pues que nos renten a todos, ¿verdad? Y esto va a ser algo que no está bien.
And if that's the case, other churches or religions will want to use the place as well.
Eso es todo, gracias.
That's it. Thank you.
Shouldn't we have a response to that?
We can.
Good, please.
Yeah, I think we should respond now because some people might not be listening at the end.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that with us. And one of the things I want you to know is we have a use of facilities agreement that the public can fill out. We have a person that reviews those agreements. And when you speak of people that we haven't helped, we will help anyone as long as they meet the requirements. It is illegal for us to discriminate based on who uses the facility. We allow anyone who has all the proper documentation, the insurance, the proper fees, and are willing to pay those fees. to use our facilities, and that's part of our use of facilities agreement. We have board policies on that and board bylaws and administrative regulations that do not discriminate based on religion or any type of group that uses it. They just have to meet our requirements. And if a group wasn't allowed to use it, Mr. Quintero, it was because they did not meet our requirements. And many times that's because of proof of insurance or proof of, that they're not going to charge, or there could be a host of reasons why. But that's between the individual and the facilities department, and there's a person that works with that. Tina Dagnall is in charge of that. And if you'd like to speak with her about this, Ms. Dagnall, if you want to take Mr. Quintero outside in the hall with a translator, because the other people don't need one, I don't think. But would you like to go with Ms. Dagnall outside in the hall? She could explain and give you the information. Okay. All right. I mean, I'm just offering. But you could follow up with them, too, and provide that information, too.
So there is a fee schedule, and churches all pay a certain fee for use of facilities?
Yes, ma'am. And the churches that use this, it's part of our board policies and agreements. It'd be illegal not to provide the facilities when they're available, and we're very mindful of working with our community partners to make sure that they are able to use our facilities. Just as we use church facilities, there are times when we use the church up on Nason, the First Assembly or Moreno Valley Assembly of God. We hold trainings there and at Discovery Church because they're our partners. They don't even charge us. And because we don't have enough room in our district some days to have trainings. So it's a community partnership. And yes, there are people that don't always get the facilities because sometimes they want them for free. And we have to look at every situation. It's all individual and unique. But anybody that hasn't been able to get to, we would be glad to speak to them.
Dr. Kessior, is there a law that says you cannot, a church cannot use a school building?
Well, Mr. Johnson, one of the things that a public school, a public district like ours is, we don't discriminate based on any of those things. And that would be discrimination if we did not rent or did not lease or did not, provide facilities for people when they fill out those forms. Mm-hmm. We are obligated to do that when we can.
Okay, thank you.
All right, our next speaker, Jose Chavez.
Good evening, everybody, school board members. Mr. Kachura, I believe when you're talking about discriminator, that's a big word for you, man. Because you are the first in violation of the ADA and the whole school board, school properties. You contradict yourself, okay? And that's not right. You're talking you cannot discriminate or the good person, they are able to walk, but you do discriminate myself. What do you think about that? The reason you guys have one individual person in San Francisco, she might get some money about you, this school board, it doesn't mean she's doing her job right, okay? The ADA is very clear. Accessible for disabled only. I spoke with someone, the school board at the Moreno Valley High School. He said, where is the code from 88? It's simple. I don't know what kind of college they have. I don't know what kind of university they do have. It's simple. They don't have any code at all. It's like you do in that particular school right there. It's illegal. It's not your property. You cannot take a decision for the taxpayer buildings. It's our tax money right there and there. Why they never say something about when the school was in bad situation? So, and let me ask about, when you say you can rent or whatever, lease or whatever, why you ever been reported for all these years past and they are using that particular place? Who takes the money? That's a fraud. In our school district, school board district over here, we have a lot of frauds. I really would like to know what happened when the other person was sitting right there, empty chair right there. I forgot the name right now. And we're talking a fraud, okay? It's good things. Now I go with Mr. Odin, straight over with you, buddy. Okay, you received $500,000 from someone else. The deal you make with that person was for $1 million. And when you're going to collect that particular money with that guy, you ask for another $1 million. You're not able to confront just the one time the deal they make it right at the beginning of the deal. I don't know what kind of deal you guys do it, but it's something wrong. It's not my job to investigate it. Someone is going to come and get the root of the problem, see what happened. You make it a trump to Mrs. Mike Rios. You did it. I know you did it. Just a moment. I'm not interrupting you, so you're not able to allow me to break my time. So, I don't know what you're doing.
They accidentally gave you too much time. Your 3 minutes are up. Thank you.
Look, I want to speak with you too. Example.
Your 3 minutes are up.
I know. I am speaking with you. I'm not talking with no one else.
But this is public comment time, and we need to move on to the next member of the public.
At least 6 minutes individual for 6 persons.
No, we do not give 6 minutes per person if there's only 3 people talking. Our maximum amount of time is 3 minutes for everyone. Mr. Scott, could you handle this for me, please?
Ask him if you'd like for him to comply, but you're going to have to involve Mr. Scott.
This is the guy who was kicking me out from Moreno Valley High School.
You know, I would like to give you more time, but I cannot. I have to be fair to everyone, and that's why I'm asking Mr. Scott if he would handle it.
Getting close to 3 feet with me. You are crossing. You are violation of my rights. Get away.
Why don't you take a short recess?
All right, we will take a short recess and come back with Mr. Bleckert. Thank you.
Leave the room.
Yep.
All right, I'd like to call the meeting back to order at 8:30, and our next speaker, without further ado, is Roy Bleckert. Come on down.
I'm from the south too, south of Edgemont. But we didn't have a big fancy name for it back in the day, like an asterisk program. But I remember being as a freshman at MVHS, it was like a Monday through Friday deal of fixing the overflow toilets, the busted sprinklers, the broken circuit breakers, welding together the bleachers, and all sorts of things. So, but what you did learn was a lot of skills when you did that. Now that may be a problem because you might turn out like the odious Roy. But one thing that kind of distressed me about what one of the students said was he said there are not enough jobs for young people. And I don't remember a day like that. I remember a day when if you wanted a job or you needed to do something, there was one for you. So even though of all the things that are going, I still think there's a disconnect from skills that we are teaching for the skills that they're going to use. One thing I picked up on the superintendent's report about Northridge and the waiting list. One thing a lot of us have said is more schools should be like that so you do not have a waiting list. Everybody should have the same opportunity. Every student should have the same opportunity to have the education that's going to fit for them. Now that may be, even in a lot of cases, that may be different from what is at Northridge. But in the 21st century, you're going to need to craft education and education facilities that are going to be much different. I just read a study about this open workspace, how it really is detrimental to production. There's a lot of things that are going on that could be fixed. Another thing is transportation. If you drive around the city right now, notice how there isn't as much traffic. If we had a transportation and a bus system that didn't and we didn't have a cluster at most of our schools when they're there, we would have a lot more production. We would all have a lot better quality of life. That was in place back in the day. That is not in place now. You got to look at all the decisions you make. One thing I want to say, I'm going to address the elephant in the room that nobody has. Mr. Morgan's not here. I have a lot of questions that I have asked about this. I don't believe they've been answered. I think they deserve an answer because if you're going to be transparent, this board, this staff should be doing what's in their purview, and I think my questions need to be answered ASAP.
All right, your time is up. Thank you. All right. We're moving on to F1, public hearing on solar. Resolution adopting certain findings and approving energy conservation service agreement for energy-related improvements at Moreno Valley Unified School District. So Tina Dagnall, do you have some information on this?
Yes, actually, if you could open up the public hearing, we will then do a presentation and then ask for public comments.
Okay.
No, that's the next one.
That's F3. All right, so we will have a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Boss, seconded by Mr. Holguin. I was looking askance because Claudia wasn't over there writing down these people. I thought, should I write who made the motion? I did. Okay. Call for a vote.
Mr. Ball.
Aye.
Mr. Johnson. Aye. Mr. Holguin. Ms. Smith.
Yes. Public hearing is open. Now you want to have your presentation?
I do. We are providing solar for us and making sure that all of these companies were responding to a similar process, that we weren't going to get different game plans, if you will, from different companies. They were all responded for one process. We took proposals and we evaluated them. We had interviews and then recommendation, and then we here are tonight with our hearing and approval. So I wanted to turn it over to Andrew so he could give you a little idea of what his firm did and how that led to us here today.
Thank you. Good evening. So basically, it started off as basically a desktop exercise. And what I mean by that is we looked at all the energy consumption for all the schools. And then we looked at the schools and tried to figure out what makes the most sense from a desktop perspective. And so what you see here is a list of the short, this is basically the short list. And these are the schools that, you know, have, after doing the desktop exercise and meeting with facilities, we narrowed down this list down to these 15 schools. And these are the system sizes that we identified in the RFP, so that when you did get the response, you were going to get system sizes that are of the same size. You know, maybe a plus or minus a few kilowatts, but basically you were doing an apples to apples comparison on these sites. So let's see, I guess we can go, do you want to go to the next slide here? I'll let you, I'll let you do that part. So as an example, so this is actually Butterfield Elementary School. And what we did is we showed the different parking areas. We discussed this with the district. If we saw that there might be some trees, we actually had the arborist out there with us as well before we put this in the RFP to make sure that whatever trees needed to be trimmed or removed or anything, that they weren't going to be, there wasn't going to create any problems there with the trees. In some cases, we do want to make sure they weren't shading what we're going to put up, because that's not going to, you know, help the solar or anything like that. We also identified ADA spaces. As you can see here, they have some of the coloring different. And then the last thing we did is we also indicated where they were going to actually do the electrical interconnection. So they got a pretty good idea of what they need to do by visiting the site. So this is one of the elementary schools. We also have a middle school layout. What's interesting about this school is that you notice that some of the array is out on the playground. So this is kind of nice too. The kids will be able to take advantage of shaded areas out on the playground. And we can go to the high school. So this high school, if you'll notice, it may seem kind of strange because some of the parking lot's not covered. This is actually Canyon Springs. So the I guess the new football stadium is over there now, where that parking lot is. But when Google had this image, the new stadium wasn't there. So basically, we had to make sure that we didn't put the array out there where the new stadium went. So we had that in mind too. We let them know. This is the Paris Operations Center. So this is also one of the 15 sites, and of course this facility right here too. So there'll be some nice shaded parking out there in the parking lot. As you can see here, so as far as parking goes, all 15 sites are going to have covered parking. Also, the nice thing about covered parking is all these canopies are going to be outfitted with LED lighting, which with motion sensors, so there'll be two-stage lighting. One of the biggest complaints that we've gotten as a consultant is that it's too bright. So the neighbors are complaining because the lights are too bright. So the nice thing about having a two-stage is that it's on a low stage. If there's detected motion, then it brightens up. So it also adds, security and nice lighting, and everybody seems to like that. You're getting, let's see here, I didn't count that, but I think it's quite a few lunch shelters. It's looking at 11, or 8 sites. 8 sites are getting lunch shelters, and then that one playground shelter that we showed at Badger Springs. So I think that's it. Was there any questions? Or?
Not yet.
Okay.
And so then we'll have Samar review the evaluation process.
Thank you, Tina. Good evening, Board President, Board members, Superintendent, and community. So we received good turnout this time with the solar project, and 11 companies walked the sites with us, and they submitted proposals to us. But we opened that for bid process, and they send us RFIs, and we answer those RFIs in terms of addenda, and then we've defined a deadline whereby we receive their proposals. We formed a committee to review those proposals, and that committee reviewed it based on qualifications and experience, based on financial business strength and the client relationships and reputation, and then the technology performance of the solar. We did not do the pricing first. We just reviewed based on those four. Then we rated the top four. We combined the prices with it, and they still the top four basically. Then from there, we interviewed the top four companies, and from that interview process, we selected two from the four companies, and we went through another written question session to those two, and then we selected NG based on that final proposal and approach. So this is pretty much saying exactly what I just mentioned regarding the process. The top four companies were interviewed, then there was a subsequent session of questions, and then we selected NG that stood out for the items that we listed here. Their DSA approval is only 3 months versus 6 months everyone else. They provided about $16 million worth of saving in the span of 20 years. And there is an educational, this is great, there's an educational program to the kids. For the curriculum, they want to do it for 10 or 15? 10 years. 10 years curriculum for the students, and they will provide dashboard at the school site where students can log into their computers. They see how their schools are consuming power, and they see the savings. And then there is the last thing is there's a minimal electrical downtime when maintenance would like to maintain those solar panels. All other companies said we're not going to allow it, but NG said yes, we will allow the downtime so maintenance can come in and maintain those equipment. So with that, I'd like to turn it to NG to talk about this service.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the board, Superintendent. As Samara mentioned and Tina mentioned, I'm Nancy with NG, and NG is actually the largest independent energy provider in the world. But here in California, we've been partnering with school districts throughout California for more than 40 years. We have more than close to 50 school districts right now who we partnered with in California. Go on to the next slide here. In terms of whether or not you can have confidence in our savings, our savings were calculated and validated by your third-party consultant, AECOM. We do have a production guarantee. I know a lot of this was mentioned in the board write-up as well. But we will also, when we install the solar systems, we will optimize them in the parking lots to make sure we get as much of the production as we can. And then we also offer a PPA rate with a 0% escalation. And I've included in here a couple slides from the U.S. Energy Information Administration, where you can see on a cost per kilowatt hour, electric rates have gone up consistently over the past 18 years. From a percentage, you can also see that. And then I also want to point out the California Energy Commission states that energy prices have risen on average more than 3% a year over the past 30 years. And if you look at this slide, you'll see for NG's PPA rate that we're offering Moreno Valley School District, there's a 0% escalation. So you'll see you can certainly budget with your utility costs versus Edison's and California's rates, which climb every year. In terms of our clients, I've listed some K-12 school districts that we currently have partnered with, as well as higher education and some of the city municipalities in California. Thank you. In terms of a timeline of process, the steps on top, those are the steps that we go through in terms of completing the project. We're obviously at step number 1. The timeline below, March 18th, of course, was when the RFP was let. Here we are, the end of June, beginning of September here, actually mid-September. I'm sorry, in July. I'm reading the slide here, sorry, thank you. We're here for contract approval, and once we get that, we'll get to work on the design and get these submitted into DSA so we can go ahead and begin construction. And then our goal is to finish the construction before school begins in 2019. Thank you.
So I just wanted to say thank you so much for Tanisha, the Director of Purchasing. She was great help and resourceful in this process for the amount of interviews we did and the questions we sent to people, the proposals sent and answers received. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for that.
And I want to just clarify before we move to questions is this was about the most unbiased process as we could get. We had multiple people from different areas reviewing the proposals, doing the interviews, the follow-up questions. We left price kind of at the end, and we had, which is why I got pulled the last time, is because we were just making sure that our numbers jived, to make sure what NG was saying was going to be our savings could truly be validated by the engineering firm. And so with that, we did come to, a $16 million savings over the 20 years that everybody really feels that this is what's going to take place. All the data shows that, and so just feel very confident in recommending NG for approval tonight. But before we do that and close the public hearing, we'd like to ask your questions and then also ask for any public comment.
I'm impressed that you would willingly say you will not raise the rates for 20 years. That was impressive, and it was a great presentation.
I think so too. I think this is a great idea. I could see us saving quite a bit of money over the years.
It's almost $1 million a year.
Yes.
Well, and then on top of the savings, which are phenomenal, and we want to see that, to know that we'll have those shade structures and benefit each of these campuses, I mean, that's just another consequence that just is fabulous for the district.
Very good.
I like the fact that we're building shade structures instead of just putting them on existing roofs. I think this is a good idea. So, thumbs up on that. Great. It sounds like a great plan.
So this is an investment. And,
yes.
And the district has to come up with some amount upfront
How much
or
money
over
do
the
we get
years,
upfront?
or how does that work? Help me understand that.
Because there is none.
Yes, there's no upfront investment by the district. We put up it's really a public-private partnership. We put up the investment up front. We essentially guarantee the production, and you pay for the power that these systems produce over 20 years. And so that is how we recover our investment, is by producing power on your facilities to be used on your facilities.
So it's a yearly payment, or not a yearly payment, but it's a payment every year.
Monthly.
Depending
It's very similar to a utility bill that you'll receive. And we monitor every 15 minutes the production of the systems. The data is available to the district, very transparent. You'll be able to review it to see how the power is being produced and how you're consuming the power.
So we are no longer paying the electrical company. So we're paying you.
You'll still pay to the electrical company because there'll be times overnight where we won't be producing power, or during the winter months if the clouds or storms come through. You'll always be connected to the utility. It's almost a form of backup power. And so you'll always be able to draw power from the utility if you're not producing it on site.
And the projections that you're making $16 million in 20 years. So you're going to be monitoring that, you said, every 15 minutes.
Every 15 minutes for 20 years, correct.
So at any point in time, you can tell if you're still on target or not.
Yes, definitely.
So what happens if that changes?
So there is 20 years, technology has improved so that we could essentially upgrade the structures and produce more power and go completely off the grid, free from the utility. That would require, battery storage and probably some energy efficiency at the facilities.
Out of the districts that you're working with now, what's the longest that you have worked with a district?
Solar San Jose in 2007.
So that's 11 years. 11 years, and how's that working? How's that looking?
Great.
Is it on target?
Some districts, actually, there are other. There are other districts, such as Lemon Grove, it's in San Diego, that installed their solar years ago with another provider, and they've asked us recently to come and change out those panels to more efficient panels. So, I mean, we have quite a history.
Is the same term for all the districts, 20 years?
It just depends on the district. It depends on their preference. Some districts are longer, some districts are shorter. It depends on the size of the district. It depends how they use their power.
So, okay, so I understand the sites that you selected to do this. So if in the long term, in the long run, some schools, the population may change or the use or whatever, things may change at that school. So what happens then? Or let's say if this building changes, so what happens then?
I can answer that. I mean, essentially, the evaluation that we did was based on historical usage. So we can't predict the future. Everything that you see right now is based on the current utility rates, and that's how the savings were calculated, and that's how the usage was figured out. So we try to marry the systems based on, the current demand and the current usage at the schools. If it does change, let me put it to you this way. Unless, of course, you think it's going to go down, but if you think it's going to go up, if anything, it should be even a better benefit to the district. The other thing I wanted to add to it, because you had asked about cost to the district. Not only is there no cost to the district, you will be reimbursed for inspection services from DSA. So that was part of the agreement. They're also going to make sure that if there's any compliance issues surrounding the parking area, that's going to be taken care of at no cost to the district. So, and then I mentioned about the lighting. So there's a lot of extra benefits that the district is going to get as a result of doing this. So we made sure that was part of the RFP, and then that was also part of the evaluation process.
Okay, so what I was trying to get is, if we're targeting the $60 million, but if something changes, for example, in this building, then that projection is going to be readjusted so that I guess the contract changes, or the projection is going to change? Or?
The projections won't change. If you lost half of the population at a school site, you would not see the savings that we are projected. That's just because everything is based on averages and kind of current usage.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions?
No, I just have one last one. How long does it take to do one facility? To complete system?
Yeah, so it depends. From initial mobilization to project completion, it depends on the size. The larger high schools will be there for several weeks.
Mm-hmm.
For a small elementary school, probably about 5 weeks.
Okay.
And some of that has to do with, inspections and cure time on the concrete that we have to pour. But so about 5 weeks on the smaller sites.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it's not continuous either, because we'll have to phase around current operation, and that was a very important point of the RFP, was to ensure that we minimize disruption. And so we've done a lot of work, a lot of solar work. Most recently at Harupa Unified and Paris Union High School District.
He's too far from me.
We talked too long.
Okay, but okay, that's good.
That's our way of cutting people off.
We didn't mean to cut you off like that. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else have a question? Well, I'm just excited about this personally. So,
Ms. Smith?
yes.
Ms. Dagnall, I've never, you've shown me a lot of things, and these fine people have presented a lot of things, and I want to move forward. But I've never met y'all before, and can y'all leave a card or something? I'd like to meet with y'all and hear about some of this education and just get to know y'all, since y'all gonna be doing a lot of work here. Would that be possible? Okay. I just want to make sure. I don't know where y'all are from or where you're going when you leave here, and I didn't want you to, leave here and not know that you weren't wanted back.
And Dr. Kidziora, we'll set up a meet and greet, and we'll set something up.
All right. So, will we start at all schools at the same time, or are we going to move through one school at a time?
It's a standard approach.
Okay. Okay.
That's what I kind of figured. Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion?
Yes, I need a motion
So
to, if there are no public comments, and I have not seen any speaker slips, I need a motion to close the public hearing. Moved by Mr. Baugh.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Holguin. Call for the vote.
Mr. Ball.
Aye.
Mr. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. Holguin.
Aye.
Ms. Smith.
Aye. We are now moving to F2. Again, this is adopting the solar, right?
Yes, this
So
is
the other
actually
one was
the,
discussing, having a public hearing. Now we have adoption. So is there any more discussion on this?
no,
or-
this is the actual agreement.
Okay, so
I
we
move
need a
approve-
motion?
I move we approve resolution 181905.
Okay. Moved by Mr. Holguin, seconded by Mr. Baugh. Call for the vote.
Mr. Ball.
Aye.
Mr. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. Holguin.
Aye.
Ms. Smith.
Aye. 5 ayes, 4 ayes, no nays, 1 absent. We are moving to F3.
Okay, before we do the public hearing, we'd like to have Ms. Barbara Hill Carter do a presentation on the school facilities report. And I'm still just so excited about the last item. I'm still shaking.
I'm very excited too. I have solar at home, it's great.
Give everybody a second to take a deep breath. Good evening, President Smith, board members, superintendent, staff. My name is Barbara Hale Carter of Special District Financing and Administration, and I am the consultant who prepared your developer fee reports. I'll try to walk through this presentation rather quickly, but please don't hesitate to stop me to ask any questions you have. Just as an overview, the district collects 2 types of developer fees. They're justified by 2 separate reports. The fee justification report was presented to the board on May 22nd. That report supports the district's ability to collect a level 1 fee. The level 1 fee is applied to residential construction of over 500 square feet and non-residential construction. Before you
So this includes if you're adding on an addition to your house?
The report that was brought to you on May 22nd, the level 1 fee, is charged to a residential addition over 500 square feet.
Okay.
The fee that was set that evening, that goes into place 60 days after adoption, was $3.97 for residential and 61 cents for non-residential. Before you tonight is the school facility needs analysis, which supports the collection of the alternative fees, also known as level 2 or level 3 fees. Again, as an overview, developer fees are collected at the time of building permit issuance, most often collected by a developer or possibly a homeowner who's building their own home. Real quick, alternative fees we stated are known as level 2 and level 3 fees. They were established in November of 1998 as a result of the passage of SB 50. With that passage, school districts lost the ability to require developers to come in and mitigate with us. We could no longer claim that we didn't have any room at the inn and that you needed to come mitigate the impact you had on our school facilities. The only thing that's left for us is to request mitigation, possibly through a CFD, or to adopt a level 2 fee. When they were first put into place, the theory was that the level 2 fee would represent 50% of the cost to the district, and the other 50% would be paid for by the state. In reality, we found that the level 2 fee does not represent 50%, and the state has run out of money for new construction. This slide overviews the topics we'll discuss. It's basically the qualifications, the applicability, the calculation. I'll compare the math from last year to this year, quickly walk through a timeline, and summarize the purpose and adequacy of the fees. To collect a level 2 fee, a district must qualify by checking 2 of 4 eligibility items. This slide shows us the 4 items open for us, and the 2 bottom ones are where our district satisfies these requirements. The first is the percentage of bonding capacity, and the second is the percentage of teaching stations. Applicability. The calculation of the alternative fees are written in statute. The calculations are detailed in an SFNA, or a school facility needs analysis, and they're presented to the board. Once adopted, these fees are valid for only 1 year, and they're collected at the time of building permit issuance. The fees collected are to be used for the construction or reconstruction of school facilities to accommodate growth generated from that new development. This slide looks like a lot, but it's basically the 5 steps in the calculation. First, we have to look at determining 5 years worth of residential development projections. And we do that by reaching out to the cities and the county. We reached out to the city of Moreno Valley, the city of Riverside, and the county of Riverside. And as detailed in the report, each of those agencies reviewed our projections, worked with us to develop the projections, and signed off on those projections. Secondly, we take that projection of dwelling units and we need to project the students to come in the next 5 years. And that's done by calculating a student generation rate that tells us exactly how many students are projected to come from every new home. According to statute, I'm only allowed to look at the prior 5 years of development to calculate those student generations. So when you see those numbers, they're not district-wide student generation rates. They're just statutorily driven. I'm only allowed to look in the last 5 years. And it's an important element to know because it's hard on the high school. It's hard on high school student generation because the amount of homes sold in relation to the amount of new homeowners that have high school students is lower than if you move into your home and possibly have elementary school students, because you don't want to move your high schooler during their senior years. Third step, we identify additional school facilities needed for those projected students. That takes into account any current excess. Step 4, we take those needed facilities and turn them into dollars, not by looking at what the actual costs are, but by having to use per pupil grants sent by the state. We do look at actual site and development costs, but we're required to only take 50% of them. So that's why the theory was that the fee would represent 50% of the cost to us. Finally, we take that number and we divide it by the square footage projected the next 5 years. Again, those average square footages were blessed by each of the agencies within the school district. This slide provides a comparison from 2017 to 2018. It shows you that projected unmitigated residential development, and let me stop right here. I said the word unmitigated. So these projected units do not include any projected dwelling units by homes in CFDs. A community facilities district formed within the school district doesn't pay level 2 fees, and they're called mitigated residential development. So basically, we're looking at about the same number of residential dwelling units projected in the next 5 years as we did last year at this time.
What happens when you have an apartment complex?
They are projected under, and I do apologize, thank you. SFD stands for single family detached. SFA stands for single family attached, which is condos or townhomes, and MFA is apartments.
So it's different for each category?
Yes.
Thank you.
And if we jump to the next element, student generation rates, I have to calculate student generation rates based on those same 3 housing types. And you can see within the district, the student generation rate from single family detached has increased. Single family attached is the same, and multifamily attached actually went down. And I want to note, it only went down because one of the projects that are multifamily attached in the district fell out of my 5-year window. So you do have many projects of apartment units that generate a lot of children, but I can't look at them. I only can look in the last 5 years. We look at...
Another question. in the early days of Moreno Valley, they were building small, single dwelling homes. Nowadays, they're putting them on top of each other, so they're a lot more square footage. The fee is based on square footage, is it not?
It is.
Thank you.
The next element is a per pupil grant amount. I spoke to that, and I want to point out that from 17 to 18, these per pupil grant amounts are set by the state. The state increased those by about 5%. So the state recognized the cost of new construction's increases and increased their grant amounts by 5%. Site cost per acre and a blended site development cost per acre, those are actual reflected numbers here in Moreno Valley. Average square footages, the source of those is also the local agencies. Bottom line, we show in 2017, the level 2 fee was calculated at $4.50. That's what you're currently collecting. And the new level 2 fee that's proposed and in front of you this evening is for $4.59, a 2% increase. Quickly, the timeline. This takes several months. We've reached out to the cities and county in March. We sent letters to the cities and counties in April inviting them to speak to us about school siting, about growth, about any elements that they wanted to discuss with us. In May and June, we finalized the report and we set the report out for a 30-day public review period. It's been advertised and the public hearing tonight was posted. It brings us to tonight. We hold a public hearing and we provide the board with items to adopt the level 2 and level 3 fees and this fee justification report. Like I stated earlier, the fee will be in place for 1 year if adopted this evening, and it goes into place tomorrow. In summary, what started out to represent a 50% recovery on cost due to the impact of new facilities has been recognized to represent something much less. So when we look at the pie identified in the slide, we show the level 2 fees, we show what we hope to be state funding, although we're currently out of money, and we have a third slice of pie. And right now, without state money, without hardship money, that has to come from local funds in some manner.
So bonds.
I was going to ask you that, yeah.
GO bonds would be one example. Before I conclude, are there any other questions? Yes.
I don't have any questions. Anybody else have a question?
Very good presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so I need a motion to open a public hearing on the school facilities needs analysis as presented.
Second.
Okay, moved by Mr. Johnson to open the public hearing, seconded by Mr. Baugh. Call for a vote.
Mr. Baugh.
Aye.
Mr. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. Holguin.
Aye.
Ms. Smith.
Aye. This is the time and place designated for the public hearing on the adoption of alternative school fees in accordance with Government Code Sections 65995.5, 65995.6, and 65995.7. I declare that the hearing is now open. Have any written protests been received from any person as to the school facilities needs analysis? No. No. Does the clerk have a statement to read at this time? Okay. No written comments have been received. Is there anyone present who wishes to comment on the school facilities needs analysis? No. Does any board member, district staff, and/or district consultant wish to respond to these oral comments? Well, there were no oral comments to respond to. If there are no more comments, let's have a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Johnson,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Holguin. Call for the vote.
Mr. Baugh?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Holguin?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
Aye. Moving to F4, approving resolution. Now we are approving the resolution to increase the funds. We have heard all of the, we've heard the consultant, we've had a public hearing. Now we're ready to approve that increase in fees. So can I have a motion?
I move we approve resolution number 2018-1901 as presented.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Holguin, seconded by Mr. Baugh. Call for the vote.
Mr. Baugh?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Holguin?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
Aye. Thank you. Will now move to page 95, the consent agenda. We have removed one item from the consent agenda. What was that, Dr. Verde, that we removed from the consent agenda?
The board voted earlier, Ms. Smith, on G4A, item 1A, and also item G4A, item 2A.
Okay, we have already voted on those, so we would like to amend the consent agenda by removing those. Could I have a motion to approve?
We approve the consent agenda with the exception of those two items as listed and the rest of the agenda as presented.
All right.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Holguin, seconded by Mr. Baugh. Call for the vote.
Mr. Baugh?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Holguin?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
Aye. 4 ayes, 1 absent. Thank you. We will now move to page, I think it's 175. This is student discipline cases, H1, specifically H1A. We have talked about the student discipline cases in closed session. Now we are going to approve action on these disciplinary cases as presented.
We approve item H1A as presented.
Moved by Mr. Holguin,
I'll second.
seconded by Mr. Johnson. Call for a vote.
Mr. Baugh?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Holguin?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
Aye. All right, item H1B, page 184, Ms. Maddox, the Head Start grant application with the COLA increases.
Would like to request approval of Head Start grant application with the COLA increase, which is 1.8% cost of living to Head Start grantees. Moreno Valley Unified School District is eligible to receive these funds and request approval so we can submit this application.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve it.
Mr. Johnson has made a motion that we approve,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Holguin. Call for a vote.
Mr. Baugh?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Holguin?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
Aye. Moving to H1C, approving 2018-2019 consolidated application for funding categorical programs. Ms. Maddox.
The district is submitting our 2018-2019 consolidated application for funding and data collection. This includes information about participation in state and federally funded programs. It has each school's eligibility for funding, private school participation, and Every Student Succeeds Act implementation. And we would like approval to submit our consolidated application for the 2018-2019 school year.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the consolidated application?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Holguin, seconded by Mr. Baugh. Call for a vote.
Mr. Baugh?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Holguin?
Aye.
And Ms. Smith?
Aye. Moving to page 221, Educational Services Discussion Action Items, updating Immigration Board policies. This is a first reading, so I don't think there's any action here, but we're going to have Ms. Maddox explain to us exactly what this is.
It is a first reading of the board policies and administrative regulations that you have before you. These policies and administrative regulations are first reading to update them with the requirements of AB 699, which was signed into law in October 2017, and it expressly adds immigration status as a specified protected characteristic for purposes of anti-discrimination and equal protection laws in schools and other educational entities. It also outlines a number of mandates with which local educational agencies must comply, including the adoption of policies that are consistent with or equivalent to the California Attorney General model policies. In addition, these policies will be updated with the recommendations from CSBA, and also MVA has received copies of these policies for their review. So this is a first reading on all those policies and regulations.
So it looks like we need to approve that first reading. We have a space here to vote for approval. Are we supposed to approve
Normally,
that?
we don't approve
Yeah, I
the
didn't
first
think that
reading.
we
It is
did.
on the agenda, but that is incorrect.
Okay, should not be on there.
No.
All right.
It's the first reading.
Yeah.
First reading is not a time that we approve it. Okay. So moving to page 292, business services discussion action items. Ms. Dagnall.
Yeah, tonight we have our 45-day budget revision. As you know, the governor signed the budget on June 27th, but we built the budget based on the May revision. So the two major changes from May revised to the final June budget was the change in local control funding formula. The COLA went from 3% to 3.7%, and that's a change of our overall budget of $2.1 million. And then there was also a change in the one-time discretionary funds from $344 to $184 per ADA, or a decrease in our budget of almost $5 million, making our net change to our general fund budget almost $2.8 million, a decrease of $2.8 million. So those amounts will be adjusted by our first interim, but they are brought to you tonight for approval to change these based on the governor's budget.
It looks like give with one hand, take away with the other.
Yeah, but good news is with the COLA change that is ongoing, where the one time was just a one time.
I have a question on the COLA change. On the Head Start, COLA was 1.8. Now this is 3.7. What really is the COLA?
The COLA is actually 2.7. None of the numbers that we said. And then the additional 1% on the local control funding formula is just an augmentation that they're not calling. They're calling it COLA, but it's not statutory COLA.
So what is statutory COLA?
It's the COLA that the state sets or that they set in the budget for.
And that's the 3.7?
That's
at the 1.8?
That's 2.7.
Oh.
And then they're augmenting the LCFF by an additional 1%. And they're calling it COLA, but it's not statutory COLA. So on, say, special ed that gets a COLA increase, they'll get a 2.7% increase. They won't get the 3.7. In terms of Head Start, I guess because that's a federal program. And so that's why that's the
That's a federal.
different COLA.
So in essence, we're losing about $3 million.
Almost $3 million, our ending fund balance will be adjusted by.
That's not good news. Okay.
We're going to make it up with solar.
We're going to make it up with solar. Okay.
No, solar gives only less than $1 million a year, so try again.
I was working on it.
He'll find someplace else for the other $1 million.
Okay.
Okay.
We're not really losing, we're just not getting that amount of money. We're not losing money.
So is it a loss or is it some money that we were supposed to get that we're not getting?
We budgeted the $340 per ADA, but we budgeted it in revenue, but we didn't budget to expend it. So we'll just have to reduce the revenue and the ending fund balance.
So we're
But
not getting less money than we got this year?
No.
Okay.
You keep track of that checkbook, please.
All right, so we need a motion to approve the 2018-2019 45-day budget revisions as presented.
So recommended.
Moved by Mr. Baugh, seconded by?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Johnson. Call for a vote.
Mr. Baugh.
Aye.
Mr. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. Holguin.
Aye.
Ms. Smith.
Aye. 4 ayes, no nays, 1 absent. Here's one I forgot to mark. Okay. Human Resources Discussion Action Items. 293, Dr. Verde, it looks like this is your deal.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. We have two job descriptions we're bringing forward this evening. This first is to approve a new classified management position entitled the Executive Assistant to the Superintendent. This job description better matches the duties of the person in this particular role. This person will report to the district superintendent, of course, to perform complex and confidential work while at the same time also supporting the Board of Education as needed. So due to the high-level position and these different needs that are reflected in the updated job description, we've brought this forward for board approval this evening.
So is this a new position, or is this a different position for somebody already working for us?
Right now, this is a new position, but at the next board meeting, we would bring forward a reclassification of an individual into this particular position. But we needed to approve a new job description first.
So will we have one job or two jobs when we're done?
One.
Okay. That's my question.
I move that we approve the new classified management position.
Moved by Mr. Baugh, seconded by Mr. Johnson. Call for the vote.
Mr. Baugh.
Aye.
Mr. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. Holguin.
Aye.
Ms. Smith.
Aye. 4 ayes, no nays. Moving to another, this is a certificated position and job description, professional development specialist, Head Start State Preschool. And I think that, was this a recommendation from the people that came and evaluated our Head Start program?
That's right, Ms. Smith, yes.
Yes. Okay, so Dr. Verde, do you have anything else to say?
That was it. Just the PD specialist is responsible for assisting classroom staff and meeting the educational needs, as you alluded to, as required by the Head Start standards. And so we're bringing this forward tonight.
Okay, and this is a new position, right?
Yes.
Or are we moving one of our professional development?
This is a new position.
Oh, new position, okay. So can I have a motion?
I'll make it.
Moved by Mr. Johnson to approve that position.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Baugh. Call for the vote.
Mr. Baugh.
Aye.
Mr. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. Holguin.
Aye.
Ms. Smith.
Aye. 4 ayes, no nays.
These have all gone through that committee that we have with the bargaining units, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, Jay, acknowledgements. Use of school facilities. And there was an increase in fees. So, Ms. Dagnall, do you want to tell us about that?
Annually, we bring our administrative regulation 1330 for our use of school facilities to the board for approval as we increase the charge for use of facilities by the consumer price index. And so the table in the back of that AR is the only thing that's changing. And it is, the rates are increasing by about 2.3%, which ends up being about $1 to $2 for each category per hour.
I would suggest that you might send this to Mr. Contreras.
Yes, this is available on our website, right? So this.
Mail it to him.
The updated one will be after today.
Right.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Miss Dagnall, I want to thank you for updating this, but I do want to point out that in the general conditions, when you look at this board, on 2, it says that all users shall provide a certificate of insurance. And many times when people want to use our facilities, this is one of the pieces that they're unable to produce or provide. So I think it's important for you to know the amount of insurance that a person or a group uses in our community and what we request of them. The second thing I wanted you to notice on this is number 10. If you look at that on this document, on the administrative regulation, it says the religious organizations and or denominations may be granted the use of school facilities on a temporary basis district-wide, normally 3 years, and pay fair rental value cost as outlined in the fee schedule, which includes personnel cost and equipment cost. So that is in the administrative regulations, and didn't know if you wanted Ms. Dagnott to comment on anything further than that. Okay.
I have a comment on it. It also provides, does it not, that you, if you're a nonprofit, that you have to demonstrate proof that you're a nonprofit. In other words, prove by the state that you're a nonprofit, not just say, well, I'm a nonprofit. Correct?
You're right, Mr. Ball. You do have to have the documentation that represents that.
So to me, sometimes the people who get turned down don't have either the liability insurance or they don't have the statement that they're a nonprofit. And if you don't have those things, we can't say yes.
Yeah. And I've been in situations like that before. I've heard of them anyway. And so what happens is they don't tell you that part when they're talking to other people. They'll just tell you that they were refused.
So if someone wanted to provide music or dance lessons and charge for those, they could not use a facility?
It would depend, and in situations you have to look at, like for instance, proof of insurance and liability, and then when you look at if they're charging people, where's that money going to? Because we're not here for people to make a profit off of us.
Okay.
Isn't that correct? Yeah.
All right, so this was just informational. There's no vote to be taken on that. So if there's no more questions, let's move to K, comments from board members and superintendent. Mr. Ball, you're up first.
I saw today or yesterday the yearbook for Honey Hollow Elementary School.
Yes.
And that was absolutely outstanding. I don't know if the principal did it, I doubt it.
Yes, she did.
Or volunteers or whatever, but it was remarkably excellent. Mm-hmm. And I mean, if you were a parent of a kid that went to that school, you'd say, wow, what went on at that school? And I was so impressed with that, and I just wanted to make that comment. Would you please convey my congratulations for a job extremely well done?
Mr. Bott, did you mean Hidden Springs Elementary, or did you mean Honey Hollow?
Yeah, we got a yearbook in Hidden Springs.
Hidden Springs.
Hidden
Okay.
Springs.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah, she just transferred there.
Yeah.
Well,
Sorry for saying it wrong, but yeah.
And she's been doing that for
Hidden
the last
Springs.
4 years or so, I think it is.
This one was particularly good.
Yeah,
I was impressed. That's all I have to say.
I think several of our elementary schools do have yearbooks, so the only one we've gotten, though, is the Hidden Springs. So.
Yeah.
Okay, I had the privilege of going to D.C. with my colleague, Mr. Hogan, and as well as Dr. Katsiora. And while we were on the trip, Mr. Hogan made me promise him that I would allow him to talk more about some of the things that we attended. So mine is going to be real short, and he had better cover everything that I was going to say. So I'm going to give him that tonight. So I just mentioned about the DC, but that's it. That the rest is going to be his. But I will say this too: how proud we were. We've already said it, but it's worth saying again. How proud we were of those 4 young men from Valley View High School. I don't like to go the way I'm going to go, but I'm going to do it anyway. It's really funny when people come up to the mic. Some people, the only thing they ever talk about are the negatives. But they don't ever talk about those 4 students who would start working on a project, and they were just, going through the motions of doing it. And then they found out, hey, look, this is something very important. And they ended up going to Washington, D.C., and their project won out over a lot of other kids. And they're right from Moreno Valley School District. I don't know why we don't ever talk about something like that. Well, we talk about things that we talk about other things. But just to see those 4 boys there, it was worth it not to go to sleep that night to make sure that we arrived early in the morning. So I don't know if you all know who those 4 kids are, but if you do know who they are, please congratulate them for the work that they did. Two of them, as we said earlier, are seniors. So unless you know where they're going to be attending or what school they're going to be attending, you might not see them. But the other two are still in school. Let me dial down. On the 4th of July, the parade, we've already talked about that. But I will say this one thing. Again, how proud we are of our bands that we have here at Miranda Valley Unified. It wasn't just a few years ago that we took music away because we were short of money. And so they took a look at that and they said, this is the area that we're going to cut. But when Dr. Ketziora and Dr. White came on board, that was one of the first things that they brought back. And the interest level is so high that you heard tonight that we've got 3 kids from our high schools that are now performing with what's the name of it? Pacific Crest. You know, you've got to tip your hat to number one, the vision that we had when we said, look, let's bring music back, and the kids that are involved in the hard work that the band directors have done to get them to where they are right now. So I am going to close. I told you I was going to make it short. I was looking for one of my quotes, and I said, gee whiz, I couldn't believe this. I found a quote that I did in 1984. So it may not fit here, but I'm going to use it anyway. So, you know, like when you're driving on the freeway and this guy cuts you off and everything, you get upset. Don't be upset. Here it is. Never mind who's right. Drive so you'll be left. That was from 1984. You can have it now. Don't leave anything out now.
Okay.
Show you correctly.
Thank you. So, you know, that trip to Washington, D.C. has been mentioned several times already. The superintendent mentioned, Mr. Johnson mentioned it too, the students, Valley High School students. But I want to, you know, of course, congratulations to the students. But also, I want to repeat something that Dr. Katsura mentioned, but he just went through it like if it wasn't important. But I think it is very important. It needs to be noted. It has to be shared with the community what also happened in Washington, D.C. And that was when Dr. Katsura was recognized with the Distinguished Leadership Award by the National Forum to Accelerate Middle Grades Reform. And I think this is a big deal for the district. Mm-hmm. This is a big deal for the community, and it is a big deal for all of us, because he gets this in front of 1,000 people when they announced that they were going to recognize the winner of the Distinguished Leadership Award, and we were all kind of waiting to hear a name that we had never heard before, right?
That's right.
And then suddenly we hear this award is for Dr. Martin Rex Ketziora. So we looked at him, who, by the way, he was in at a different table, not with us, yeah, but he was in at a different table, and we looked at him, and he wasn't even moving.
He wouldn't move.
We were waiting for him to stand up and to be recognized, so it took him like 3 minutes to stand up, but he finally did. He stood up, and what was amazing was that those 1,000 people stood and clapped because of the recognition that he was getting. So I mentioned this because, again, I think it is important to recognize the kind of leader that we have here in the district and here in the community. We have seen the work, we have experienced the work, we have worked with him, and very honored to be able to work with him. And we have seen a lot of progress in this district, and so you know, we're proud of that. But to see that he is also recognized at the national level, I think it is something that we need to keep in mind as we go on our day-to-day operations of the district. He really cares about the students, and this National Forum to Accelerate Middle Grades Reform, I think they're putting attention to the work that is happening here in Moreno Valley, especially led by him. So congratulations, Dr. Katsura. So I wanted to mention that. And then, of course, we already mentioned the students from Valley View High School. We're very proud of that and be able to be there at 5 o'clock in the morning, too. And then I already mentioned the 3 students. I already mentioned the 2, the participation in the 4th of July parade. So also, Dr. Quetzera was invited to participate in the Summer Institute on Leadership for Educational Justice at the University of Redlands. He already mentioned that 6 superintendents were there, but he was also sharing what is happening here in the district in terms of addressing equity, which was the topic of that conference. And just the fact that he's invited along with other 5 superintendents, when we have, you know, how many superintendents in the region and many other throughout the state, that says a lot about their looking at what is happening in the district in terms of equity. So again, Dr. Quetzera is putting attention to all that, and so that's why he was invited, and he did a good job. So congratulations on that. I also want to mention the National History Day competition students that were from our district that participated at the national level were recognized at the Riverside County Office of Education recently, and that was a really good ceremony, a good moment for our students, especially because of where and when this took place at the Riverside County office by the Riverside County Office of Education, Board of Education. So they recognized that along with a couple other students from throughout the entire county. So high recognition to those students. And then the Summer Learning Academy at Towngate Elementary School, I think there was something that is really unique to see that there's a summer school for high school students, as I was used to hear, summer school for high school students who were struggling, who were missing credits or who were falling behind. And so now to have this concept of Summer Learning Academy where elementary students are attending school, are having a great time, are learning, and they're still connected with the school, with their classmates, with the programs, with everything that is happening in the campus. And I think that is a good thing that allows the students to stay still with the idea in mind that they have to continue going to school. So I think that's great. And then also, making them understand that, they can go to college, they will go to college. So it was great to be there and to see the activities and to hear the activities that they have planned for the students. So again, a unique program. I have not seen this in other school districts. I'm not sure it's happening. I don't know, but I have not seen anything like it happening anywhere else. So it's a great program. So I think that's all I want to say. I hope I'm not missing anything. So thank you so much.
Thank you. My comments will not be as long as yours, so that's okay. With Dr. Quetzera getting this national award and also being on the panel for Leadership for Educational Justice at the University of Redlands, I think we have a superintendent that is recognized locally. He's recognized nationally. We are fortunate to have you, Dr. Quetzera, and I feel privileged to be able to work with you, as I'm sure everyone in our district does. Yesterday, I attended his birthday party yesterday morning. That was such a fun time.
I think we need to sing as a board.
Okay, would you lead us off with that?
You bet. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Dr. Quetzera. Happy birthday to you. That's the color of red there.
Thank you, and I hope you had a good one.
Yeah, it keeps happening.
It keeps happening, yeah, that's the thing, once a year. Okay, so we are fortunate to have the best superintendent in the world right here in Moreno Valley, so thank you. June 28th, I attended the Leadership Moreno Valley graduation, where Tina Dagnall was honored for completing their leadership course. I was happy to be there to help recognize one of our MVUSD leaders, and I think, did you receive this award? Did you attend that course before? No. No, somebody else. Did Dr. Verde attend before? Yes. He's a graduate of the course before, but also he didn't graduate this year. So congratulations, Tina. 4th of July parade, great to see our community celebrating together. I love the 4th of July. I love having people from our district in it. The high school band was right behind us in the parade, so that was great. We can turn around and wave at them. To see our essay contest winners on the school bus, that was great. We are proud of all of our students that helped to make MVUSD the best school district in the state of California. I also went to the Riverside County Board of Education meeting where our History Day winners were recognized. Sometimes it's so hard to keep up with all of these moments of excellence in our district happening all over. I also went to the Community Engagement Open House at Moreno Valley Conference Center. It was put on by the city, but our district was well represented and featured many opportunities for community members to get involved in volunteering and helping out our community. So if you are out there and you would like to help out in the community, there are many ways that you can do it. And you could start right here at the school district. We're always looking for volunteers. So thank you. I also went to the Towngate Elementary. The Press Enterprise was there. They said to do a story on the superintendent's Summer Learning Academy. It was not just summer school. It was a lot of fun. We were there for the opening in the morning at 8:30, and they had singing and dancing, and the kids had put together a little band. They had the stage set up like a summer beach party, and it was just a lot of fun. And I don't think they did it just yesterday for us. I think they do that all the time. So they do that every day. I was happy to see that their library is open during the summer for kids to continue learning during the summer. It's so important for our students to keep up those skills during the summer so they come back to school in the fall ready for the next grade, and that's always our goal. So thank you, and thank you to everyone who's been helping our district lately. That's all I have to say. Dr. Kedziora, over to you.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith. And I want to thank y'all. That was really nice of y'all to sing to me. People are texting me that are watching this saying that was really nice of the board to do that. So I just want y'all to know y'all are getting a lot of credit out there.
We're going to be forming a choir.
I want to say how proud I am of the students in our district. And if you were here tonight, if you watched this, that student that spoke from Valley View High School that went to Washington, D.C., that has those 4 young men that had their experiment in space, that's really a big deal. There were 22 districts represented there, and we were the only one from the inland region. There were other northern school districts like San Jose and different places, but very proud of those young men and what they accomplished. And I don't even know that they realize how significant it is, but they're just amazing young people. I hope everybody, when Tina Dagnall was so excited after the vote for the solar, she really wanted a little more bravado and grandstand, because it is a big deal. This is a marking in our district. It should have happened, but thank you for bringing it forward. But would y'all give her a big round of applause? Because that's a big deal, and for the board to like the presentation was even a bigger deal, because that hasn't always happened. So thank you, and I'm glad y'all liked it. And I want to say thank you to Dr. Verde and Mr. Barney, who's out there, but I want you to know that we do need teachers, and we need about 30. And so there's EdJoin, and you can contact them, but we would like every classroom to be filled by a credentialed teacher by the start of school, because I remember myself when I was not fully credentialed yet, and I was hired to teach at this school. This was in Tennessee, and I felt so bad for those kids. And they go, "Are you a real teacher?" And I thought, well, yeah, I'm trying to be, but it's so important to have teachers, and I just want people to know we want you to come to work here, and they want to interview you. So, Jason, hold up your hand so people can see you, and Dr. Verdi, hold up your hand. And so I just hope that people will apply here. And I want the students in the community to register for school. Dr. Sheffield is here tonight. She would take you to the registration center if she could right now, but the Welcome and Registration Center. But it's really important that you get registered if you just moved into our community and you're not registered. And it's just important not to be in lines right towards the beginning of school. You can get in there and get this done. So please, school starts August 15th. And we want to make sure that everybody's registered. And Dr. Sheffield, thank you for being here tonight. And I want to say to Mr. Burleson, Jim, have you filled out a presentation for the Leadership Summit to present on customer service and working with parents? Claudia, will you send that to him? Because, I want you to know, very difficult situation, and you might not think it's just who you are, but other people can learn from that and what you did and your follow-through and your commitment. And I'm really proud that people like you came to work in this district, but also when you came here, you continued to develop and build the skills with the community, because that gets out there, to different parents. So thank you. And I just want to say tonight we were asked a question about Mr. Morgan, and I want to conclude by reading something. And I just want to say that the district continues to monitor Mr. Morgan's situation and is unaware of any new developments. As stated before, the board has no authority to remove Mr. Morgan from office or to require him to take a leave of absence based on his arrest. Those were decisions that he made. Nevertheless, Mr. Morgan remains on a voluntary leave of absence. The board is committed to ensuring that the district and the governing board function safely and efficiently, and will take all action within its power to accomplish this. And we just want people to know that we are bound by confidentiality. We are not the public. We don't get to say whatever we want to, and we don't get to answer everything because we have a responsibility and an obligation to due process. So I want people to know that, and we take that very seriously. So thank you.
Thank you. And at 9:50, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.